We've been discussing the halachas of some halachas of the Seder. We discussed the halachas of a Seba. We discussed the halachas of the Arba Kaisais. We discussed what type of wine should be used. Now we concluded that you should use red wine. We added that it should be not mevushal, right? We said the time of wine. We spoke out halachically, right? The red wine is because it's similar to blood of all the Jewish children who were that Paro shechted. And we also brought in the Mishnah Brewer brought in because of the time of Alila Stam, that throughout history, the blood libels always rose by Pesach time. So therefore, we should use dafka, use blood, wine that's red. Like Bisman, especially Bisman Azeh, where Baruch Hashem, we don't have to worry about that. Even though there was one in the turn of the century, there was one in the Baelish trial was about that, a blood libel. Anyway, we're up to Kuf Ches Amid Aleph. Kuf Ches Amid Aleph, 4 lines from the bottom. We're going to discuss Simchas Yontif tonight, and Bez Hashem, we're going to go through what? Go through a place. Yeah, Amid Beis. I said, yeah, Kuf Ches Amid Beis. Ches Amid Beis. Hakol Chayavim Ba'arba Kaisais. Oh, Penny, we're learning Pesachim.
What? Pesachim?
Yeah, we got the Pesachim already, Penny. And
what happened to Shabbos? I thought it meant Shabbos.
Okay, Penny, be quiet. Hakol Chayavim Ba'arba Kaisais. Everyone is mechuyev in Arba Kaisais halalu. Everyone is mechuyev. Echad anoshim ve'echad noshim ve'echad tinoikis. Now we spoke out yesterday that women are mechuyev, despite the fact that it's the mitzvah essay shazman grama, that's the mitzvah essay that's dependent upon time, contingent upon time, since Afheim Hayabos Anes. And the Rashbam spoke out, they were the Iker nest, Mishum Noshim Tzidkonius Nigalu. So therefore what? They're part of the mechuyev to drink wine. Guys, your wife is mechuyev to drink wine. Right away they go to the grape juice, but there are options. And again, they are mechuyev like you are, the same way. And there are options. I mean, some women like wine, right? Some women like too much wine, and what? They won't know. But again, there's so many wines that are very low in alcohol and they're very easy to drink. They're like Jewish soda, really. So again, what? Yeah, so you drink the Jewish soda, but again, if you drink that white stuff, the batanur, you should make it red. You should make it red. I was saying tonight, if you like that white, that's you can drink by the seder, you drink that. Moscato. Yeah, okay. Okay, so turn around. Everyone's chayiv, and it says it's mashbit tinoikis. Now, what do you mean a tinoikis is chayiv? A tinoikis can't be a baby. It must be a person that you mechuyev to mechanech, correct? Someone that you mechuyev. There's a mitzvah of chinuch. Now, what's the reason we drink arba kaisis? Is because of cherus. The mechunech is not in the ballpark of cherus. It's not. No, it's not pshat tinoikis. How can they drink wine? That's it's a little more deeper pshat than that. How they can drink wine. The pshat is that how could they go ahead and expect them to feel cherus with wine? And therefore, Amar Rav Yehuda v'chimat tayelis eish l'tinoikis biyayin. What tayelis is there, right? The tinoikis biyayin. In fact, the Rashbam brings their pater min mitzvahs. They're pater from mitzvahs. So therefore, and al chinuch doesn't seem to be such a I don't know why to get their pater mitzvahs so al chinuch and the Rashbam. So if they're mechuyev chinuch, so why is it different than any other mitzvah? So therefore, if you say the word of cheres, it's understandable. But if you don't say the word of cheres, why is it different than any other mitzvah? Ella mechalkin lahem. You go ahead and you divide to the kiddies kloyos ve'egoizim. Kloyos are parched wheat, and egoizim are nuts. This is the predecessor of Cracker Jacks, right? This is the predecessor of Cracker Jacks. They used to use parched wheat, and the Rashbam points out that it had to be from Yashan. It had to be from an old wheat, because again, the Chodesh wasn't permitted till the next day, till they brought the carbon oimer on Tez Zayin Nisan. So here on Tez Vav, it had to be that lot that you're bringing from the Yashan, from the old grain, not the new grain, because the new grain wasn't permitted as of yet. So you would give them Kloyos ve'egoizim erev Pesach, kidei shelo yishanu, in order they should not sleep, yishalu, and they should ask. It's an amazing thing, the special halachas we have by the Seder, how much things we do that the children should ask, because the main mitzvah of the night of the whole Seder is we got it to levincha. Right? You could eat matzah separately. You could eat maror separately. You could eat the Korban Pesach. The whole Seder is beit ois. It's built upon what? The mitzvah of we got it to levincha, sitting down and having your children appreciate that what's happening over here. So we do so many things for that. And one of the things is you give out these snacks. You give out these snacks, the kids won't go to sleep, and therefore not yayin, but what? But the snack of parched wheat and nuts. The Amru Olav Rabbi Akiva, there's a kiss Reb Tarfin, Shahoya Mechalik Chloyes Vegoizim Matinoikis Be'er Pesach. In fact, he put it into action at Pesach. He would go ahead and be mechalik the snack to the kiddies. Kadesh Yeshanu, in order they shouldn't sleep, be a shalom and they should ask. Tana Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Chaytvin Matzos Belel Pesachim. You chap matzos leil Pesachim b'shvil tinoikis shlo yeshanu. You chap matzos leil Pesachim in order that the children shouldn't sleep. Why does it mean you chap matzos? Let's see a long Rashbam because we have a lot of time this evening. It says, Chaytvin, a matzah, the Rashbam, right side. Chayfin matzah, magbiyan esa ka'ara. Chayfin matzah means you elevate the ka'ara that has the matzah on it. Bishvil tinoikis sheyishalu, that should ask. That's one pshat. The istim mefarshi, chayfin matzah is oichlin my hair. You eat quickly, right? And so one, either you lift the plate up, or two, chayfin matzahs, you chap the matzahs in yachila. You eat very quickly. Shnei l'sonos halom is Pirush Rabbeinu. These two l'shaynis, Rabbeinu explains. The yesh garsim, there are those who say mitzvahs magbiyan, right? Mitzvahs. In other words, chaytvin mitzvahs, not chaytvin matzos, but chaytvin mitzvahs. What does that mean? Magbiyan es hakara, you elevate the kara. Sheyesh behem matzah umara ubeis tafshilin, which has a bunch of mitzvahs on it. V'liniera says the Rashbam. I'll tell you what chaytvin matzahs is. Chaytvin means misalkin es alechem. You remove the matzah miyada tinoikis from the hands of the kid. The kid has matzah in his hand, and you grab it away from him. You shun him that he shouldn't sleep mitoich Michael Harbe because he ate a lot. We know there's nothing that'll put you to sleep more than carbs. And here he is, he's eating the carbs. So what do? In order he shouldn't sleep, you chop the carbs away from him to keep him awake. Kids go to sleep after they eat, and adults as well. And then they're not going to ask anything. So before he ingests so much carbs that he's going to fall asleep, what do? You grab it away from him. Aval achshav kisha chayfin mehem lo yishanu. He won't sleep. Be yishalom and last. Klaimar lo yishanu shlei achlu. Right. Kadesh savan v'yishalo kshiru hashinuyim shanu oisim. Hakera litinaikis kilkaman. That is, we'll see later on. The chemuk muchaloshan ataysefta, that you grab the matzah away from the kid. The tiny revelation oimach chayfin matzah litinai kadesh lo yishan, that he shouldn't sleep. So this is very interesting. Of Rabbeinu Pirush, that chayfim maharim lechol, you go ahead and eat quickly. Now, the Rambam brings down this halacha. No. The Rambam brings down this halacha. Guys, listen to this. V'tzarich lasei shinu b'layla hazeh. You should do shinuyim this night. Kidei sheyiroa bonim v'yishalu, that the children should see and ask. V'yomru manishtan alayla zem yikol alaylos ad sheyoshev lehem v'yom lehem kach v'kach ira v'kach v'kach hoya. This is what transpired, and this is what was. The ketzad mishana. What's an example of shinuyim we make? Mechalik lem kloyos ve'goizim. We go ahead, we divide, we give them the snacks. V'oikrin hashulchan mifneihem koydim sheyochlu. And we lift the table away from them before they eat. So this would be chaytfin mat, right? Then it says the chaytfin matzah zeh miyad zeh. We chaytfin matzah from one hand to the other. So ken zayin, it could be the Rabbi is masking the Rambam pirish acher mahamar lechol eat quickly kadesh leishana, that they shouldn't sleep. So it could be chaytfin matzah. This is the concept of what, of chapi yapi koimen. Yeah, what's the wisdom of stealing the apple koimen? The lashon chayt means to chap, right? So this is chayt from miyad zeh, that the whole reason we do it is we did it to kids want to make a few bucks, right? But somewhere along the line it lost the real reason of it. The real reason is why are you grabbing it from me? Why am I grabbing it from you? Chayt from miyad zeh is zeh. Now I don't know if the Rambam is saying that. It could be the Rambam is saying the same thing as the Rashbam, because he brings simultaneously, he says, you oik at a table, which was the second shot in the Rashbam. But again, this could be the only allusion to the meaning that we have of stealing the Afi Koimen. Lashon Mamish, to steal to chaf the Afi Koimen. Man?
Your parents got you the lake house.
You have to get
The
it.
trip at the lake house.
Yeah. That you just felt.
No, I still have memories of my uncle, my whatever. And my cousin was there. She wasn't religious. So she chopped up and come and she hid it in the bread box.
Didn't go there.
Yeah. Anyway. So Tanya. Amar love Rabbi Akiva, son Rabbi Akiva, miyamav le'amar hagia islamoid the Beis HaMedrash. They never had to tell Rabbi Akiva it's time to stand, meaning to leave the Beis HaMedrash. In other words, he was such a master, he was in the Beis HaMedrash all the time, except 2 times. Chutz mi'arvei Pesachim, with the exception of Erev Pesach, the Erev Yom Kippurim. On Erev Pesach, Erev Yom Kippur, right, Rabbi Akiva would leave the Beis HaMedrash early. The Erev Pesach, B'shvil Tinoikis, Kedei Shlo Yeshanu, and Erev Pesach, he would go to the Tinoikis, they shouldn't sleep. Erev Yom Kippur, Kedei Sheyachilu Es B'neihem, to feed the kids. So let's see the Rashbam on this. Chutz mi'arvei Pesachim, Kedei Sheyeshanu Es HaTinoikis B'yoyim, in order to put the kids to sleep during the day. Why is he leaving it during the day? So to put the kids to sleep during the day, that they shouldn't sleep at the time of the Agadah. That's one reason he left during the day. Inami, if he would stay until the evening, so the kids would fall asleep if he wouldn't come home, so he came home. Okay, so Tosfos has the problem, Top Tosfos, Chutz mi'arvei Pesachim, Hachi Garsina Rabbeinu Shmuel, like that, it's not right. In other words, their father had to go put him to sleep. They couldn't sleep without Rabbi Akiva going ahead and put him to sleep. Rabbi Akiva left the Beis HaMedrash to put his kids to sleep. There was no one to put him to sleep. The Tam Sheni Shapirish Shema Ya'akvu, maybe Rabbi Akiva would stay in Yachshach Harbe and came Lehayit Tzrichim Lamad B'yoyim Kim B'layla. Therefore, he just had to get up, make sure he got home before the night, not during the day, to keep the kids awake. L'kach near the Gars Lele Pesachim, guys, not Chutz mi'arvei Pesachim, except he stayed in the Beis HaMedrash the whole time, except the night of Pesach, not Erev Pesach during the day. A different girsa, change the girsa, the night of Pesach. Well, you were Gil in Beis HaMedrash, Leila Yom Tov used to be accustomed to there. So he would come home at night, the kids shouldn't sleep, right? They'd fall asleep unless he came home. So he came home, changing the girsa. So the Tosfos has a different girsa than the Rashbam. Back in the Gemara, Torah Chayav Adam l'sameach banav u'bnei beisai beregel. A person is chayav a person to misameach his sons and the people of his house beregel. Shenemar v'samachta b'chagecha. You should be misimcha b'chagecha. B'ma misamcham. What are you misameach with? B'yayin. You misameach with wine, right? Misameach with wine. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Anoshim b'roy lehem. Rabbi Yehuda says it's not universal. It's anoshim what's right for them. Anoshim b'roy lehem, and women what's right for them. Anoshim b'roy lehem is biyayin. The noshim b'may. On Rabbi Yosef b'Bavel in Babylonia. The big day tzivoinim, colored clothing. This is a source that you should buy your wife a dress, some type of outfit or jewelry for a yontif. Eretz Yisrael, the big day pishtam mugatzim in Eretz Yisrael. They had a different meaning. White linen clothing that was pressed. Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Meseru Omer, Bisman sheBeis HaMikdash Kayim, in the time when the Beis HaMikdash was around, Ein Simcha Ela Bebasa. When we say Ein Simcha Ela B'Yayin, that's Bisman Hazeh. Bisman Abayis, what do we say? Ein Simcha Ela Bebasa. Shenemar, V'zavachta Shlomim, V'yachalta Sham, you should shecht your Shlomim, eat them there, V'samachta V'nei Hashem Elokecha, and be Mesamech in front of Hashem. However, now that the Beis HaMikdash is not around ain't simcha ela b'yayin. There's no simcha, it's only b'yayin. Shnemar b'yayin yisamach levav enosh, and yayin makes glad the heart of man. So it seems to be, guys, bisman hazeh. Is there any simcha b'basa? Avrami, this is your sugya. Again, is there any simcha b'basa? Mashma from the Gemara, not mashma. Only bisman abayis was there a simcha of basa, right? Only bisman abayis was there a simcha of basa. But bisman hazeh, where it's not a shlomim, it's mashma, there's no simcha of basa. Says Tosfos, b'mem misamchu b'yayin, haynu bisman hazeh. Aval zman beis hamikdash ein simcha ela b'basa. In other words, when it says ein simcha ela b'yayin, that's haintaga. Now, But Bisman the Beis Hamikdash ain't simcha ela bebasar. So Taisus clearly holds that Bisman Hazeh, there is no simcha bebasar. The only simcha is biyayin. Because the only basar that simcha is the basar of a carbon. It's the basar of a carbon. So that's I want to spend a little time on this evening. So we'll put it up. Steve has it. The guys who are, he's gonna. Steve, you're gonna post it on the signal. Where are you posting it on?
It's already on both.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Rabbi, 1 second. You're going now. We're finished with the daf, or
No, we didn't finish the daf. We just, right now we're just gonna spend a little time on this, and we'll go back to the daf soon.
okay.
Sound like an old man when you talk and touch stuff.
Okay, do the last thing first, but I'll be able to see it. Maybe. Okay. If you have a phone, if you don't have a phone, you should look on with somebody. Okay, here's the lashon of the Rambam. What? Look, go to the original daf. You have it? It's
No, it's only.
okay. Go to.
It's only on two.
No, it's not a signal. You have signal. Go to signal. Actually, you have to turn up the sound. You have to turn up the sound. It's on the side of the button. You just turn it.
Tell him to mute. Not his sound. He's got to mute the mic.
You can tell. He's muted. He's muted. Now, batting. Manny, Moda.
Your phone, mute your
What's the
phone.
matter?
It's not me. It's not me.
Yeah, bye.
Hesh, do me a favor. Go outside and figure it out. Okay. Anyway. Shiva Shemei Pesach Yitzayin. This is Perik Vav Vilchus. Heshi, you have to. It's really disturbing.
Take the phone on this volume, son.
Just put down the volume.
It's no fun. I have to suffer with this.
Sonny, your phone, Sonny.
Hesh, give your phone to somebody who knows what to do with it.
I did. This is the
Samsung.
Tell him to go sit with Avrami. Avrami will show him how to do it.
Okay, anyway. This is all taped for posterity, by the way. Anyway, Shivas Yemei Pesach.
Where are you saying?
I'm Yud Zayin. Perik Vav Hilchos Yud Zayin. In Hilchos, guys, listen, this is the Rambam. The Lashon of the Rambam. Why is it still noisy? Actually, give him the phone. He actually says. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks. Okay, guys. Okay, so look, guys, listen. Shivas Yemei Pesach, Shmoni Yemei Achag. This is Perik Yud Zayin. Im Shar Yomim Tovim, Kulam Asurim Behesfer B'Tainis, V'Chayev Adam Liyos Behen Sameach V'Tov Leiv. A person is chayev to be Sameach V'Tov Leiv, Hu Ubana V'Ishtoi U'Bnei Beisai, V'Chol Nilvim Alav, and anyone who's dependent upon him. Shnemar V'Samachta B'Chagecha. And Alpha Pisha Simcha Amura Kan He Carbon Shlamim, even though that means the carbon Shlamim, K'Moshe Anu Mavarim B'Hilchas Chagiga, Yesh B'Chal Oisai Simcha L'Smoyach Hu Ubanav U'Bnei Beisai Kol Echad V'Echad Karoilai. So even though the Simcha mentioned in the Torah is Shlamim, we extend it more to what? Anything that's roi for the people. Ketzad. And now he goes through the different things. Ketanim noisin lehem kloyos ve'goyzim migdanos, the snacks. V'hanoshim, right? Nosin lehem begodim v'tachshitim noyim and jewelry. Kefim emoino, according to what he can afford. Right? In other words, if you can't afford it, obviously not. Guys, and here's the kasha. V'hanoshim oichlim basar v'shoysin yayin. Shein simcha ela b'basa vein simcha ela b'yayin. And the Rambam goes out of his way to tell you there are two simchas. In simcha ela b'basar, vein simcha ela b'yayin. Niskash ela Rambam, we just did a Gemara, right? And what did the Gemara say? in simcha el b'yayin, because Basar is speaking only when Bisman the Beis Hamikdash. Tosfos said clearly, Bisman the Beis Hamikdash. The Rambam seems to be going connected the Gemara at the simcha bin Basar Bisman hazeh, that there's a din of simcha Basar hazeh. Now the beautiful Rambam continues, when you eat and you drink, you have to go ahead and feed those who are what? Who are more unfortunate than yourself. A ger, an orphan, a widow, imshara aniyim umlalim, and other aniyim who are umlalim are very, very, very poor, right? The mishe noyel dalsais, a person who closes down his doors, chatzero of his chatzer, v'oichel v'shoyse hu ubona v'ishtay ve'ena meichel mashkel aniyim. He eats, he drinks, his wife, his children, but he doesn't feed others. The niyim l'mari nefesh, those people who are bidded. Ein simcha b'mitzvah el simchas kreisai. That's not a simchas a mitzvah. That's a simcha of filling your stomach. That's not a mitzvah. That's a mitzvah of simchas kreisai. While elu nemar, on this regarding these people, it says sivchayim kilechem oinim lahem kol oichlo yitamu kilachma malefesh v'smachta skazu kloyin hilahem. It's an embarrassment. Shnemar v'zaresi perish al pneichem perish chagechem. So it's like spreading feces on your face. It's a lashon in the Navi. But the Rambam clearly states that there is a mitzvah to go ahead and drink yayin. So drink yayin, of course, and also wine, basar, which is very, very difficult to understand because again, we just went through what a whole Gemara. The Gemara seems to say that so this piece is from the Mesifta. So go down. I think you scroll up. If on the phone, you should scroll up, right? You have it. Does anyone not have a phone? You want to see it? Everyone seems to. Okay, good. So now you scroll up. Okay, so Mesamchem is biyayin. Kasu ataisvis shehanidan kan in lesimcha biyayin oy begadim hu dafke bisman hazeh. Avosman beis hamikdash ain't simcha ela bebasar. Says Taisvis that this thing about simcha, about begadim, this thing about simcha of what of yayin, that's only bisman hazeh. But time beis hamikdash was only what in basar. Rambam, which we just went through, Kosav, V'anoshim oichlim basar v'shoysin yayin shein simcha el b'basar and simcha el b'yayin. He repeats it, simcha and basar and simcha and yayin. So clearly the Rambam is holding there's a simcha basar. V'hikshe b'beis Yosef shari me'abraisa kan mashma the bizman hazeh hasimcha hi b'yayin b'vad b'loy basar. The simcha is only in yayin, not basar. In fact, he takes out the word basar at the Beis Yosef. So therefore, it's this kasha. What's pshat in the Rambam? This is Moshe Yehuda Stearns by mitzvah pshatel. One, Hayam Shel Shleima, the Shleima of Shleima Luya wrote a sefer, Shlam Shel Shleima, also known as the Marshal. He wrote a sefer. Do you have a phone? You have it? Good, great. So he writes the following. Shemash Amru Izman Hazeh in Simcha El B'Yayin Ein HaKavana L'Mayit Basar. It doesn't mean to exclude Basar. El LaHoisif. It comes to it. Shebizman Hazeh Ein Dai B'Basar. It's not enough Basar. El Tzarech Gam Yayin. Says when it says Ein Simcha El B'Yayin, it doesn't mean only Yayin. It means only with yayin and basar. You need yayin in addition to the basar. V'hatam, what's the reasoning? The fisha bizman shebeis hamikdash ha'ikayim hayu oichlin basar shlamim used to basar shlamim. V'yu oindim al carbon asayim. You'd stand by your carbon. V'zeh atzma hayu goyim lem simcha afilim hayu shoysim rak mayim b'toy chasuda. Guys, think about it. You're standing there. It's Beis Hamikdash. You bring a shlamim. Part goes to Hashem, part goes to the Kayin. A fire comes down from Shemayim. It goes ahead, zaps up your carbon. You don't. That's the biggest high you possibly can get. that basar, that carbon, because of the additional aspect of the shlomim. It wasn't the basar as much as the additional things going on with the carbon, right? The fact the Gemara says in Sukkah by the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, Samachti. Why am I happy? Ki simachti, because I made others happy. So he made the Kohen happy. He made Hashem happy. Everyone's happy. The Mela is a tremendous simcha associated with the shlomim. Bisman hazeh, we don't have that. We only have meat. So to all go ahead and augment that and elevate it, what do we need? Yayin. In addition to the meat. In addition to the meat. So that's the way the Rambam learns. When the Gemara says in simcha b'yayin, means in addition to the meat, to elevate it beyond. And when it says bisman abayis is shlamim, it was enough shlamim. You could drink water because you didn't need the additional to go ahead and elevate it.
Why do you need the meat at all? Why do you need the meat at all?
You didn't. What do you mean?
The wine alone can do it. The wine
No.
can make you happy alone.
No, the wine alone can't do it. The wine alone can't do it. That's why the Yam Shlomo is learning. Ein simcha ela b'yayin means in addition to the meat, but not just the yayin, not just the yayin. Okay.
Our Gemara didn't say just wine.
Yeah, but he's learning pshat. That's in addition to the ein simcha ela b'yayin, meaning in addition to the basar. Aval achshav she'ein lanu simcha shlamim ve'hamigdash charav ve'arva kol simcha az af she'ika simcha b'basa mikol makam ein dai b'zeh ve'in simcha ela b'yayin. It's not in other words, to maximize the simcha, you need what? You need the yayin.
Understand how he's answering the Rambam, but I don't see how he's learning our Gemara.
But he's learning in simcha ela b'yayin is in addition to basa. It doesn't mean only yayin. It doesn't mean only yayin. He's not learning ein simcha ela b'yayin. He's learning ein simcha ela b'yayin in addition to the basa. Shebemash yismach es atzmai and loishe yishte. I personally don't understand how he's answering the Rambam. Because if you look at the lashon of the Rambam says ein simcha ela b'basa, ein simcha ela b'yayin. Mashmit's two separate things. The Rambam broke it up into two separate clauses. That was my kasha. Guys, look up where I'm pointing. Look up to here. I'm pointing to the top. You see where my pointer is? Because of v'anoshim oichlem basa v'shoysin yayin she'ein simcha ela b'basa ve'ein simcha ela b'yayin. It's mashmit's two separate things, right? Here it's mashmit's together. It says they eat basar and drink wine. Over here it's mashma like the Yam Shel Shlomo. This lashon, they eat basar and drink wine, mashma both. But then he breaks it up. Shein simcha ela b'basa ve'ein simcha ela b'yayin. Unless you say the vav is like an additional to. That's the way he's learning pshat in the Rambam, and that's the way he's learning pshat in the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't mean to exclude basa. The Gemara means that you need, if you just say basa ma'isha, won't be enough. Ein simcha, to attain simcha is only al yedei yayin, because you're eating to the basa. That's the way he's learning pshat in the Gemara. You have it? Okay. Now the Bach answers, Sha'af sha'amru shebizman hazeh in simcha ela b'yayin, loy ba'u lahaitzi basar, doesn't come to exclude meat. V'loymar she'in simcha b'basar, she'in a basar shlamim. It doesn't mean to go ahead and say there's no simcha b'basar, right? That's not basar shlamim. Shevada yesh simcha gam b'basar chulin. Guys, there's a Gemara in Chulin and in other places that you can force the butcher to go ahead and shecht before the Chag. Now, usually, what do they used to do? They didn't have refrigeration, so you'd get together and you divide up the cow, and then you'd shecht, and you get your part, you get a bunch of chevra together. There's certain times, however, prasa pesach, prasa sukkos, where you can force the issue, because it's mashman is a mitzvah to have wine then. Basa, it's a mitzvah to have basa then, so you see that, why not? Elabol loimer, says the Bach, what is the Gemara coming to say, the Rambam? She'ikar ha-simcha hi b'yayin. The ikar simcha is b'yayin. U'lechein choyva lishles yayin. Shaloi kizman shebeis hamikdash hu kayim, she'oz hoya ikar ha-simcha, the ikar simcha was what? Was with what? With basa shlamim. U'lechein ein chayav lechel basa, you wouldn't have to eat basa because the shlamim was enough. Mekamakim yesh mitzvah gam achilas basa. So according to the Bach is learning that bizman hazeh, the Bach is learning bizman hazeh again. The main simcha is biyayin, but not to say there's no simcha in basar. The main simcha is biyayin, because yayin is samach levav enosh, but not to say that there is no simcha b'yayin. So so in other words, the Gemara says ain't simcha. This man abayis what Ushlamim was enough, and you didn't need yayin. This man abayis you read the Masera, it was enough just what meat, and you did not need what, and you didn't need yayin. Bisman azeh, you need yayin, but not to say that there's no what simcha in basa. That's the way the Bach answers it. And the Aruch HaShulchan, he goes and says it's machlokes tanoim. We're not going to get involved with the Aruch HaShulchan. He gets and says machlokes tanoim, which pasuk you're going to learn. So either way, bisman azeh, certainly bisman azeh, there is a makar for, even though we don't have a shlamim, to have meat on yantif, and certainly.
I'm trying to get off that one.
Let me ask you a question. There are other people here. Why? I know, but they're close to theirs also. Anyway. You know, you go in front. I mean, in front of our eyes, you're like just falling apart. No, it's just
Rabbi, this is why that story about the person who came to ask if he could be Yotzei the Arbacosis on milk, it's such an interesting story now.
Right, the Beis Halevi, and he gave him money because he said, right, if he has the milk, obviously he needs meat also, right?
Yeah, but he needs it. It's not just a good thing. He needs it.
It's a good point, right? It's a good point. You see that why he need the meat. He need meat also. Again, there certainly is an of basar, but again, it's an interesting way to learn the Shitas Rambam. And again, also the fact that anyone, any person, in other words, I don't know how many people are going to shul and schlepping hamaniyim and almanos and giyars, but again, to give money for people who, for moischitin, that people to buy meat and buy wine and buy matzah, certainly you'll be yotze the Rambam to giving simcha to other people, which is an important nakuda. That's why I wanted to bring it out. I could have simply said the Rambam shita is that what, but the lashon Rambam is meduyak that you should go ahead and help others as well. Okay,
where is that Rambam?
Perik Vov, Halacha Yud Zayin in Hilchas Yontif. Perik Vov, Halacha Yud Zayin and Yud Ches. Yud Zayin and Yud Ches. It's Yud Ches in Hilchas Yontif. Okay. Amrav Yitzchak. Kasta de Marisa. We're trying to figure out how do you figure out the amount of a revius. Kasta de Marisa, Dali B'tzipurei. They had a kasta that they used to go ahead and use for fish brine in the town of Tzipuri. Havi Kamin Luga the Migdash. It was like the Luga the Migdash. Uma Meshayim Revius Shal Pesach. So you would take that loig and you go ahead. A revius is a chatzi loig, so that you divide up in 4 and you know exactly how much a revius is. In other words, this measuring thing for fish brine held exactly the loig of the Migdash. So we know revius is a quarter of a loig. I said chatzi, I mean a quarter of a loig, and you go ahead and you measure accordingly. Amrav Yochanan, Timnesayu Kedmaisa, the Havi B'Tveria, there was a Timnesayu, some type of cup, earlier cup in Tveria, Havi Yisera Aldar Riva. It was more than the new one, a quarter. Uba Meshayim Revius Shal Pesach. So you would go ahead and, you know what, you take the new one, you take the old one, you pour it into the new one, and what was left over, that was the quarter. Amrav Chista, Revius Shal Torah, the revius of Torah. There's certain revius of Torah. For example, the revius of a nazir. Of a nazir drinks the revius. Allah Chamash Misina that he's chayev. Is that for his naziris. And there's Allah Chamash Misina about revius dam. The revius of dam is mitama ba'oil. Being mitama ba'oil because the nefesh is in the dam of a mace, right? So therefore, how do you figure that out? So they give out the denominations. The art school spends a yovel on this. We're going to spend a minute on it. Says the Gemara. So etzba'ayim al etzba'ayim. It's 2 fingers wide, 2 fingers long. Beroim with the volume, with the height. Etzba'ayim, 2 etzba'is. The chatzi etzba, and half etzba. The choimish etzba, and the 1/5 of an etzba. In other words, 2.7 etzba'is. So it's 2 times 2 times 2.7. Kiditanya. Now we had this quite a few times. This is how we know 40 saw, guys. It says rachatz b'mayim eskol b'saroy, and he should wash in water all his flesh. Shelo yehi tova chaytzis bein basar l'mayim. One halacha we learned that it says that there shouldn't be anything being chaytzis between his flesh and the water. B'mayim, when we learn from the word rachas b'mayim, the main mikvah, Es kol b'saroi, you need mayim shel kagufo oila behen. You need mayim that a person's whole body can be in. The kamahain, how much is that on the days? Amma al amma, b'roim sholosh amos. It's 1 amma by another amma with a height of 3 ammas. It's 1 by 1 times 3. The shiur chachamim, the chachamim came up with the shir mei mikvah of 1 amma by 1 amma, which is six tfachim, or 24 etzbois by 24 etzbois, and the height of 3 amos is mei mikvah zabayim sa. And then that would work out to. They work out the math over here. They spend a lot of time with the math. We're going to go back. Amar Rashi, Amali Ravim Bar Chinena, Shulchan Shel Migdash Shel Prachim Have. The Shulchan was 1 by 1 by 2. It was 1 amma by 1 amma by 2, and it must have been made of pieces. The Isak Gedaitach Heduki Have. If you're going to tell me Heduki Have Hadik that it was stuck together in one piece, Amsa ba Amsa Hechi Matpila, 1 amma by 1 amma. Were you able to go ahead and put it in the mikvah? How could you put it in the mikvah? In other words, it's interesting to note. Why did they pick the shulchan and not the menorah? Why did they pick the shulchan, not any other than this Mizbeach Hazav? Why did they pick that? Because any one of those could have been taken out of the kodesh to be put in a big mikveh outside. But in the Beis Hamikdash, they didn't have a big mikveh. They had the Amas Hamayim that went through, and they would go ahead and be toivel the kalim there. And there was a mikveh that the people would use. But again, you see, it doesn't. It's amma 1 amma by 1 amma. It's not very high. And the shulchan has to be lefanai tamid. The shulchan has to be in front of me all the time. So the shulchan is the one kli you couldn't take out of the Beis Hamikdash. So you don't have the option of using a larger. It's very meduyik in the lashon. Why dafka they picked the shulchan? Right, because you can't take it out. So it must have been that it was, easy bolt-on installation. It must be that you could go ahead and what? But when it says in instructions, easy bolt-on installation, you're dead. As soon as you said easy, you're finished. And then besides, it's not a problem because right away it goes into Spanish anyway, so you don't. So anyway, so the Gemara is asking a great kasha. If you're telling me a mikveh is an amma by an amma, this is too big for a mikveh. How in the world? So it must have been they took it into pieces and put it into the mikveh. Says the Gemara. So. My kosher Dilma biyam shasa Shloima havi matvalei. Shloima had a yam, guys, which was huge. It was 150 saw. Remember we had that in Erevin. It was square and round. I don't know if you remember that picture, right? It was first square and round earlier. Not in the early parts of Erevin, we had it. How to figure it out that amount? Okay, I remember it. That's most important. So the Tanya of Chia yam shasa Shloima machzik meya. The Chamesh mikvahs Taira. It was Masik, 150 kosher mikvahs, a tremendous amount, 6,000, I think, 150 times 40. Do the math of 6,000. It was Masik that large amount, and therefore they will put it in there. It says arba. So now the question is that how could they be less than what they were talking for? So Be'ez Hashem, we're going to get into a sugya of zugais. Zugais is peers. And we're going to get into Kishuf and Shadim and Mazikim, but we're going to have to wait for tomorrow. Okay? Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Quick question.
Yeah, Mosh. Mosh had a question?
Earlier on in the Masechta, I can't find it now, but I think we said something that a person should not linger in the base medrash on the 14th because they have to search for chametz.
Yeah, this is the 15th.
I'm gonna call you. Okay.
Okay.